Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's virtual event. What's new in Dynamics 365 Field Service Wave 1 2021? My name is Erin and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the Q&A panel. By joining, you are agreeing to this experience. Attendees may access the event recording and presentation via a link that will be delivered by email within 48 hours of today's event. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters and moderators will be answering your questions during the presentation. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have David Clark, Program Manager, Jason Cohen, Senior Program Manager, Vinay Nalam, Senior Program Manager, Jonathan Baker, Senior Program Manager, Dhruv Goel, Senior Program Manager, Sanday Jeffat, Senior Product Marketing Manager, and Rag Guru, Program Manager. David, now over to you to kick us off today.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. So hello, everyone. I am Dave Clark, and I lead readiness for field service, and I'm responsible for making sure that our stakeholders, like yourselves, understand how to use and set up field service to realize its potential as a business application. This update is referred to as the Wave 1 2021 release, and that includes new software capabilities that are released between February and August of this year. As Erin mentioned, we are going to give an overview of the Wave 1 2021 release. We're going to talk about how customers are using our product. We're going to give a demo and presentation of new features, and we will save time for questions. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat throughout the webinar. For those of you who are new to field service is an end-to-end software solution that enables service organizations to solve customers' problems in the field, meaning at the customer's location. A core competency of field service is handling scenarios where a technician drives to the customer's location and fixes an issue with a machine. The goal of the field service app is to help organizations move from a reactive service model where they respond to issues, breaks, and failures to a proactive service model that is focused on maintenance and avoiding downtime to begin with. For me, one way to think about field service capabilities is to see them as part of the pillars shown below. Proactive service delivery, resource scheduling, asset servicing, technician success, and end customer engagement. And we're going to touch on these. When it comes to the Wave 1 2021 release, here is a list of new features that are organized into those pillars. We are going to talk about all of these features and we are going to demo a few of them that we see as very important. Most features are already released, and these are the ones that you can see have documentation and videos links next to them. More features will be released at the end of April and in August, and we will have public documentation available for those on the day that they are released. As a reminder, even though the new release became available on April 1st, it may not be available in your geography until as late as April 23rd. Also, for future reference, you can add early access features to your Dynamics 365 environment by opting in the Power Platform Admin Center. So turning to our customers, the growth in field service among our users has been very exciting. Last year, Dynamics 365 Field Service was named a leader in the field service software space by the Gartner analysts. This was mostly because of large investments made in the pillars that we just talked about, like proactive service delivery and resource scheduling. But we've also made lots of investments in AI and mixed reality. And we are definitely very excited for the 2021 report to be released soon, and we are expecting another good position. You can see here Microsoft in the top leader quadrant. The breadth of the Dynamics 365 field service solution makes it valuable to customers across many different industries. Siemens is using field service for facilities management with IoT. EDF is using it for solar panel installation and maintenance. Ecolab is using field service with mixed reality for consultations and maintenance on industrial sanitation equipment. And Team Rubicon is using field service to schedule volunteers based on their skill set for COVID response activities. And these are just a few of many industries that field service works in. So when we work with our customers, we see patterns as to why they want to adopt field service. The first is they feel that they have a reactive business model that does not scale. They feel they are constantly putting out fires and are unprepared for jobs, and they cannot scale to new services or new geographic territories. A common pain points that we hear include unnecessary truck rolls and missed customer SLAs. The second reason why people choose to adopt field service is they have pain related to their legacy scheduling systems. Common pain points we hear are the technicians take inefficient routes as they drive to different locations, and the technician utilization is low. As an example, if a technician is at a customer site fixing something, they should also know to perform routine maintenance at that site if there needs to be maintenance. Customers want to schedule jobs that are close to each other at convenient times. The last thing we often hear is poor technician enablement. Customers say that their technicians are unprepared to fix jobs when they arrive, because when they arrive, they don't have the right information about the customer, they don't have the right information about the asset, they don't know all the details of the job that they need to perform, and they are unable to manage follow-up work that is piling up. A common pain point we hear is that it is hard to enable and train new inexperienced technicians as older ones retire. So with that, let's dive into some of the features. And first, we'll start with proactive service delivery. So one of the more exciting features that has been released is knowledge management has been expanded to field service. So what we are enabling here is you can create knowledge articles. You can add those knowledge articles to work orders, and technicians can see them on their mobile app, and it'll help them guide them through their work. We think this is very important for improving the likelihood of them fixing the issue the first time. And I think there are two really exciting things about this feature. First one is that the knowledge articles will actually work offline, which means that the technician can download the knowledge articles to their device and use them without internet. And the second thing that's really cool is that this knowledge management system that field service uses is the same knowledge management system that Dynamics 365 customer service uses. So your customer service reps and your field technicians can be using the same set of knowledge articles. Another feature is the ability to capture work order resolution details. So this new entity on the work order you can track a resolution to a work order. So if a work order is tied to a specific issue, you can then keep track of how did the technician resolve it, and this can be fed into your reporting models. There have been a lot of improvements to the field service inspections feature. So in case you're unaware, inspections is a digital form that field technicians use in order to fill out a process, do an inspection on a piece of asset, go through a certain procedure, go through a customer survey. Basically, it's any digital form that a technician needs to be guided through. Some new features that we've had recently are the ability to use inspections on assets without the need to relate them to a work order. We have new question types. We have multi-language support. We have different views. We have the ability to import and export inspection templates, which is really important if you want to, let's say, build an inspection in your test environment and then export it and then import it into your production environment. Also recently, we've added image comments and barcode scanning. And this is some of these features we'll show later on in the mobile section. And then one area that we've made a lot of improvements on is a simplified setup experience. So this is the idea that when a new IT admin is responsible for setting up field service, we actually have this guide that they'll be presented, a new getting started page in the app, and is going to guide them through the most crucial part of field service, which is setting up frontline workers, also called technicians, creating your customer accounts, creating work orders, and then scheduling those work orders to the frontline workers that you just created. So rather than needing to immediately go to the documentation to get started with field service, you actually have an in-app tutorial that is going to guide you through the core scenario of field service. So we see this as very important to customers who are getting started with field service, and we see it very important for perhaps new consultants who are responsible for architecting and implementing field service. So in order to show us some of the features that I just talked about, I'm going to ask Jason Cohen to present, and he's actually going to give us a demo.
Sweet, thanks, Dave. So I'm Jason Cohen. I'm a senior program manager on the field service solution, and yeah, let's talk about some of the super cool stuff we're delivering this wave. I'll start with this one, which is, for folks on the call, you're probably familiar with the challenges of getting started in field service and going from, sort of a brand new environment to something useful, to something that showcases the actual value of the solution. So what we're doing here with this simplified startup experience, get started experience, is really trying to walk them through that in a super simple, super easy way. For folks who've been playing with this during EA, you've seen this in the top left corner where actually it just was released in April. Apologies, this wasn't in EA, but it's in the top left corner now. You'll see this getting started link if you're logged in as an admin. At the moment, this shows up just for admins, so field service admins, sysadmins. You end up with this get started button, and on this get started page, we have a lot of great sort of content to help folks understand field service, understand the value, to understand how to use it. So you can take a guided tour, watch some videos, and then you can actually walk through these super key critical use cases: setting up your frontline workers, creating your accounts, creating work orders, scheduling those work orders. The intent, the goal here is that within 5 minutes you could have a work order that's working, and you started from nothing, and within 5 minutes you've got an actual work order scheduled to an actual technician. I'll do a real quick walkthrough of some of this just so everybody can see it here. But the idea is you push the setup button, and before, when you were setting up a frontline worker, a technician, we sort of mapped it out. It was literally 15 different pages, and I don't remember how many clicks it was. It was a ton of different clicks. We've simplified that experience to just this super, super dense, super, efficient and purposeful frontline worker setup experience. So in here, I can go ahead and pick a user I want to enable as a resource, as a frontline worker. Perfect demo. There we go. We can add multiple if we wanted, so I can set up multiple people at the same time. you can see, this lets me add as many as I want. I can give them, skills, characteristics, so I can pick multiple of those as well. I can add territories, again, can do multiple if they work in multiple territories, if that's appropriate. We automatically apply the time zone that's the current user, but you can change that, of course. We automatically give them the right security role, field security profile, mobile offline profile. Those can also all be changed. You have the opportunity to send them an email, which will give them a download link. And it's super simple as that. You just say save and close. And in the background, it's creating those 3 resources with these characteristics, with these territories, with these security roles, field security profiles, and it's done. I mean, it used to be literally like it was a very inefficient process, and now it's super dense, super clear. And we can see here, if we look at that view all button that I've just set up these resources that I just picked. If we jump back here, another thing that you'll notice, so if we go to create for accounts, this is the account creation experience. This is an experience that has been improved and simplified. So we end up with, you can go ahead and say, let's go with Pike's Place Market. I can put in some of the key information here, and then I can put in an address. This address control is going to, sort of predictively finish based on my location, right? So let's say Pike Street, Seattle. Actually, I think it's 1 Pike Street. There we go, Seattle. Save and close. Now I created my first account. Super simple, seconds. Come to my work order. Something super cool here on work order. So this is a super dense, simplified work order creation experience. So I can pick my Pike's Place Market one that I just created, which, thanks to the lookup control, since I just created it, it's right there in my recent ones. I can pick a work order type, or I can create one. Obviously, this isn't an actual brand new environment, but if I just wanted to create one, real quick, I can just say, repair. As I'm doing this for the very first time, it's super simple. Just create a new work order type. I can summarize this, say, repair juicer, and then pick a price list. If there were no price lists, if there's just one price list in the system, if there's none, we're going to create one, a default one, and we'll populate it. If there's only one, we'll auto-populate it. If there's more than one, of course, we'll give them the opportunity to select the value here because they may want to indicate what the right value is. Here's something, and then when we come to this bottom portion of the work order form, super excited about this. What this allows is to create the work order from scratch, right? Super fast. I can add multiple tasks right here from this page. So let's say diagnose issue. I can automatically pick. I could pick, a multiple tasks from here and add many. So diagnose issue, and then let's say, confirm part to replace, and then we'll say perform repair. Super easy to add multiple tasks right from this one creation experience. If I need to add a new task, of course, I can do that too. It's just simply, define the new task from, and it would just like the work order type that we did before, it gets populated right here. Same for products, right? I can add many products. I can create a brand new product if I need to. In this case, I've already created one I want to use, but if I needed to create a brand new product, just like I did for work order type, just like I did for task, super easy to do that. And the thing that's the thing that we've done to make that really clear, really easy, is you're probably familiar with, if you've played with field service before, you have to publish a product before it can be used. And there's a special field service product type to make sure that it's useful for field service scenarios. We're just making all of that, sort of automatic and part of that super, clear creation experience. When I push save and close, it automatically publishes it and is usable right away. I can do the same thing for services. I can add many services. Let's go with whatever inspection or armband ins, doesn't matter. For my service, I'll pick a service and I can give it a duration. I can create a new one just like I did for others. I can add multiple, but so now I've created my work order and it's ready to be. I can save it. I can either save and book, which will open up the quick book experience, and I can book it right away. I can save and close. I'll just go ahead and save and close just to show the next step in this process. But this is, like I've gone from nothing to having a frontline worker, an account, and a work order on that account within, minutes. And then I can push schedule here, and I get pulled right over to the schedule board. Here's my Pike Place Market work order. Let's go ahead and schedule that to me. So let's just grab that for Jason. So now I've created the work order now, and now I've gone right to the place where I get to learn about the schedule board, and I scheduled it. And that was super fast, and that was super easy for hopefully much easier than it used to be, where you had to really sort of understand a bunch of things. It was basically, unfortunately, it was very difficult to impossible for a customer to guide themselves through this process. And hopefully, with this Get Started page, that's all just super easy now. So let's take a quick look at the work order that was created, and I'll point out a couple of other things. I made sure to pick a product that would. So here's the work order we just created. So let's take a look at this. So I made sure to pick a product that would bring with it some knowledge articles, because I wanted to show that. But just before I do that, so we can see that this work order that was created, within a super short period of time, has pulled in all of the data that I sort of populated as I went. Right, I got my service account, I got my work order type, I got the price list that I defined, the details that I added in the summary. It's brought in to it the products, it's brought in the services, it's brought in the tasks. So that was all just done within that super brief, super dense form. Now, if I take a look at the one thing I did add, so I made sure to add a product, this juicer product, that I knew would carry with it an article, because I wanted to show this. So super cool new feature that Dave mentioned earlier, the knowledge articles capability, right? So if we take a look here at articles, we can see here that this has brought with it a knowledge article. So right here from the work order, now I can see, details around this knowledge article. There's a bunch of ways that details come through to knowledge articles can be added to a work order. So if you're familiar with knowledge articles, which is something that CS has had, customer service has had for quite a while, we're just extending that capability for field service. So if we take a look over here at the knowledge article, this is within field service in the settings area in field service knowledge articles. We have I've defined this knowledge article that we just applied. This is no different than it ever was for customer service. I'm just defining the knowledge article. But what is super cool is this can be associated to work orders. Of course, if I search for it and just apply it directly to the work order, it can be associated to cases, as it could always have been associated to cases. But it can also now be associated to customer assets, products, and incident types. And so the idea of it here being, as a technician, as an organization, just through the normal process, normal flow of creating my work orders, I'm going to get my knowledge articles automatically applied, through no extra effort, right? If I create a work order from a case, and through trying to resolve that case, they've applied knowledge articles to that case, and then I convert that to a work order. Those things come down to the work order. As I've defined the work order with products, with assets associated to it, with incident types associated to it, those things just come down to the work order. So trying to make that just super simple, super easy, so all of that's right there at the work order level, and eventually right there in the technician's hands. So when they're out on the customer site, they don't have to look around for any of this stuff. It just shows up for them right away. So if we take a look here at my mobile phone, here's that work order that I assigned to myself just a minute ago that I just created. So if I open this up on this work order, if we take a look, we'll end up seeing, there's a bunch of stuff that Dave will show, so I won't steal his thunder on some of the cool stuff that he'll show in a moment. But the one thing I'll point out here is here's that knowledge article that we just looked at. And here, here's all the details right here for the technician while they're out on site trying to, resolve this issue. They didn't have to do anything to find this. It's just created, made available, associated to their work through the natural motion of creating a work order. So we're pretty excited about that. And I think it'll hopefully do a lot to sort of bridge some of the skill gaps, increase work order closure rates, make it really easy for organizations to improve to upskill their technicians so that they're creating the opportunity for those techs to more easily close those work orders. While we're over here on this work order, let me point out one other thing that I'm pretty excited about, and it's kind of a low-key feature. Dave's laughing at me right now because I'm so excited about it, but just to point out a brand new capability. So we're trying to figure out ways to make it easier for organizations to adopt field service and create stuff through the natural motion of their service, through their service process. So I just created this work order, which I think is a beautiful work order. It's the kind of work order I would use, over and over again. This represents a very common thing, right? I'm repairing a juicer. So those tasks that I added, those services that I added, those products that I added represent, and the article that came with the product represent, a common pattern of work, what we call today an incident type. So what we're now enabling is this create incident type capability. So from the work order, I'm just going to go ahead and use this work order as a model to create a template, an incident type for this work order. So let's go ahead and say juicer repair. It brings with it the details that I added, the description, and I can modify that if I want. The work order type, the duration, tasks, products, services, characteristics, if there were any articles, if there were any, are any. One thing worth pointing out here is this task, that because there are tasks and those tasks are driving duration, that duration is driven by the tasks. But if I choose not to include the tasks, I can modify the duration, or if my tasks didn't have duration, I can modify the duration as well, just like I can do when I create a work order manually. So then I just go ahead and say, create incident type. And again, I've just created this record that's super useful to my organization, going forward, so I don't have to manually build that work order, adding those tasks, products, services, articles, every time. I'm just going to go ahead and use that incident type in the future. And here we can see it, brings me over to this incident type that was just created with the details that I had defined before: the products, the services, the tasks, in this case, knowledge articles as well, actually, which is over here on the details tab, the knowledge articles. So, really just trying to make that super usable, super simple. We're pretty excited about that. I think the last thing that I want to point out is another sort of low-key feature. For folks who've been playing in the field service space for a while, you are familiar with the fact that work orders, when you build a work order, requires a bunch of key pieces of information. So I have to have I have to have accounts, I have to have price lists, I have to have tax codes, I have to have a bunch of things that are specifically required. If we actually, let me just go over to settings. So we recognize that text doesn't always make sense, that our text functionality is sometimes not as potent as necessary for some of the tax laws that are out there, or just that as an organization who's doing internal service, tax is not a thing that we're trying to track at the work order level. You know, for lots of reasons, we know that organizations aren't always keen to use this. So what we're enabling is that you, by default now, all new organizations will have tax calculation disabled, but it can be re-enabled very easily, obviously, here through the field service settings. Setting calculate tax TS will have that. We'll have all the same tax functionality that we have always had available today, or setting it to no, and I just don't have to, sort of work around, acknowledge this piece of data that I've always been forced to, in some way, sort of accommodate. So you'll notice, because it's currently disabled, if I take a look at this work order that we created earlier, there's no tax code field present. It's not there. There's no tax information. There's no tax sort of that we're trying to calculate on all the places where you would have to fill in that tax code information. We're just sort of removing that from the equation. You don't have to confront this concept. So that's something that we're trying to do to just simplify the deployment process, simplify enabling that for customers. I think last thing I'll point out here, I guess we're trying to make this a lot more usable. So, on the work order, we recently also added that same address control. So just trying to simplify the usability of the field field service. So sort of that address came from the account that we created earlier. But if I wanted to modify it, I can modify that here as well. So just trying to make the work order process simple and usable. I think that's all I wanted to share. Thanks, Dave, for letting me walk through it. So as folks play with this, love to hear what you think on sort of this getting started process on knowledge, and sort of the creation of incident type and other ways that we can simplify creation, sort of the adoption and use of field service. Love to hear your ideas.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. So a lot of the things that Jason talked about were related to the work order, which, as many of you know, defines the work that needs to be done. Going along the process, the next step is scheduling. And how do you assign that work order, either manually, semi-automated, or completely automatically, to the best resources or field technicians? So a few things that we want to highlight. In previous waves, we came out with a new schedule board, redesigned, greatly improved performance. And in this release, we came out with a new map view on that new schedule board. And there's a lot of usability improvements. There's a lot of visual improvements. But you can see things like where are your resources. You can see the route that they take. You can see scheduled and unscheduled jobs. You can see office locations. So a lot of exciting stuff happening there. The next investment area is on the new schedule board. They invested in improving the daily, weekly, and monthly views. And this is very important for people who need to schedule multi-day jobs. Let's say something that will span a few days or even a few weeks. So there's a new experience for viewing multi-day jobs on the weekly and monthly views. And there's also a new experience for how do you edit a job that is taking longer than a day. Another area that is new and very exciting is the ability to include appointments in resource scheduling. And appointments are something that's used by a lot of other Dynamics applications. Let's say a salesperson in Dynamics 365 Sales may create an appointment as a consultation with their customer. Customer service reps may use appointments to also book service appointments with their customers. And now with field service, Oh, and then the third example is Outlook also can use appointments as well. So with this release, what we want to do is we want to make sure that if you are using appointments, we want to make sure that that appointment time slot is being displayed on the schedule board, and two, it's being factored into a resource's availability when you try and schedule them. So rather than scheduling just being a closed system that's only looking at bookings, this is opening it up much more and factoring in appointments as well. We've also improved for those of you who are using our automated scheduling solution, resource scheduling optimization, there is an embedded optimizer, which means that within the schedule board, you can select one or more resource requirements or work orders, and you can have the system automatically schedule them. And this is something that we'll touch on. And then lastly, if you are an organization that would like to use RSO, or perhaps you're a partner and you have a customer that would like to use RSO, which again is the automated scheduling solution, you can nominate the customer to be part of our preview program, which will give them access to automated scheduling capabilities within their schedule board. So it's a 5 to 8 week program that'll begin this month. And if you feel like you have a lot of scheduling needs or complex scheduling needs, or you have a customer who may, we encourage you to nominate them here to join the private preview program. So next I want to ask Vinay to show us some of the new features that have been released for scheduling.
Thank you, Dave. So let me share my screen quickly. And I'm very happy to walk you through some of the changes that we've been putting into the new schedule board. As many of you have already seen a lot of the new schedule board, but we've been pushing the updates in a phased manner, and in this way we've released a lot of updates to the new schedule board. Thank you for a lot of you who have already started using it, adopting it, and providing us very valuable feedback. Now, one of the things that we majorly pushed in this update is the map view. Previously, map view was not available on the new schedule board, but with this release, you would have that on your new schedule board with a few improvements that I'm going to walk you through. As a dispatcher, when you come into your day job, and then you're looking at your work that needs to be scheduled, usually you go into the grid and then you try to look up for the high priority ones, or where the regions or where the most of the unscheduled jobs are located for your frontline workers. Now, we made that easy on the maps view to identify and figure out where you need to focus for the dispatchers, especially who do a lot of scheduling through the maps as their interface. The new map control is placed onto the right-hand side of the schedule board, so that you can keep it open while you're working on the different parts of the schedule board. So you can come and open up with different parts of the schedule board, and you'd still be able to use the maps view as you need it. And at the same time, this map view, you can use more real estate that is needed for your scheduling purposes, as you can change the width of this panel and make it more easy to use for your scheduling purposes. You could use more area, length and width, and then use all of that for scheduling. Now, as a dispatcher, when I come to my work, I can see that all my requirements of 59 are on the map. There are 58 of them on United States. There is one more here in somewhere in Asia, and that's how you could quickly check that all of your requirements are there. And now you know your bunch of requirements are in North America, and specifically here, without needing to know where they are geographically. You can zoom into those requirements, and you can see that the requirements are clustered into groups where they are closely located in. And if you zoom in as a dispatcher, you could chalk out your areas where you need to focus your scheduling. For example, I can see there are 11 requirements up here, so I can start my day with scheduling these areas and drill down and look at those requirements. Now, that gives me an easy way to focus on the areas where there are a lot of work orders are there to be scheduled, and you can easily drill down and start working on those areas. Now, we've also heard feedback from the customers that when there are too many pins, when there are too many resources, and when there are too many routes, it becomes too difficult to handle that work for the dispatcher because of so many colors and the data density right over there. But with the new way these settings are, you could just use these settings to select and unselect what you want to see. But at the same time, you could also just focus on a specific resources schedule without having to worry about overlapping the route of a technician with anybody else. So if I display all the resources, all the routes, you'd be able to see all the resources and all the routes of the resources. But you would see too much of data that is going to be shown for each of those resources and overlapping routes. To simplify that, what we did is when you select a specific resource, you can highlight that specific route for Ricardo Sealy right here, and you see that there is a sequence of bookings that is being created. Now, for example, you can remove everything else to clear up your view, and whichever resource you select, we will center you to that resources route, and then you can focus on their scheduling for that specific resource. You could also view your resources, and you can see the routes coming up here. Now for Ricardo Sealy, let's take a look at his route. You can see that there are multiple routes in his area. I can hide them, and then you can also see the sequencing of the job. This is the feedback that we heard from a lot of you, that it's difficult to identify what's start and what's end of the route, and this is to explain the progression, and visually you can know what these bookings are and how are they sequenced. Now, we've also received the feedback where it's difficult to understand what resource belongs to which color. So that's why we brought up the resource icons up here so that you easily know who is working on what, and it's easy to identify them with their face icon. At the same time, you could still leverage the hover behavior to see the tooltip name, and also you can open up those records in case you need more details about those resources. Now, we've changed the colors of the resources that are being assigned dynamically in such a way that they're contrasting to one another. And if there are many resources in the same area, you would still be able to identify them by color. However, if color is a challenge, you could still click on that specific resource, and then you can highlight the route of that specific resource. That way, you would still be able to see the route of the resource that is in focus. Along with this, if you try, let's say the dispatcher is trying to find what are the nearby requirements and what are some of the requirements that can be assigned to this frontline worker Ricardo. So you can see along the route there are many requirements that can be assigned to him. So in this case, you could drag and drop a requirement up here to create a booking for that resource. And that would create a booking for that specific resource, and it would be added up to his route as needed. You could drag and drop it to the route up here. Along with which, so you can see that the booking is created for that resource. Along with that, you could also do a drag route, which is something that is also available in our current schedule board. You can modify the existing route of the resource by dragging that route to nearby resource requirement. When you need someone to attend the job, you can find the technicians nearby, close by, and then you can assign them a booking, and that would create a booking for them, add it to the route for that specific resource. Again, you can zoom out if you have different regions that you're handling as a dispatcher, and you could definitely see that the resources and the requirements go ahead and go into a cluster so that you can group them together and you can focus on the areas that are important for your region. So those are some of the improvements that we made on the map view. Let's take a look at some other requirements that we have made on the other views. So up until now, we only had hourly view and daily view. We also now have the weekly view and monthly view released on the new schedule board. So when you click on it, it pretty much takes the same design behavior or the same experience from the daily view if you have already used it. You can see that no matter how small each requirement is, you can see that a booking is only 1 hour 42 minutes long here. However, you can still see that stack and the booking and the details of the booking. You can hand it, you can select it, you can drag and drop it to a different place as you need for your scheduling. So we've adopted that design behavior or the experience that you already see in Outlook, where regardless of how small the booking is, be it like a 1 hour booking or a 2 hour booking, you would still be able to see that whole booking, even at a day's view, week view, or month view, regardless wherever you are. That would create some ease for you to work on these views when you're on a weekly view or a monthly view. Now, let's take a quick look at the daily view, which is one of the views that you've already been using. Now, I have a multi-day work order where it is being scheduled for 3 days, but in case if I have to make a change to this work order, I could go ahead and click on the edit bookings. Now here is where I can change my allocation on each day. This resource was allocated for 8 hours on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, but because of the work that was ongoing at the customer's location, if the technician thinks that the work can be completed much faster, or the dispatcher thinks that the work can be completed much faster, the duration of that booking could be updated to okay, the default is 4 hours, and then you will know that the total duration is decreased by 4 hours. Because we're decreasing the hours, it will be proportionally removed from each of the day's bookings, or you could just say it is removed from the total, which are existing functionalities that we have in our system. And once you click on it, that would change or update the booking for that specific day itself, and you can see that it is reflected on the allocations for the frontline worker right up there. You can also see that we brought back the utilization percentages and the number of hours the resource is booked for in that specific time frame of the time period. Now, you could also use the multi-day views to create your bookings. For example, you could go to your weekly view and create a booking for a few weeks as you need it, regardless of what the duration of the requirement is. Let's say here is a requirement that I want to use and schedule. I can drag and drop it to a resource who's available, and then I can say, just take the duration as needed in the requirement and front load them. Or you could say you could play with different booking allocation methods like the full capacity and so on and so forth. And it's going to take a look at the resources capacity for that period of time, and then create a booking for that period of time for that resource. Now you see that the resource is working for 40 hours a week, and we created a booking for 40 hours for that specific resource. That way you could quickly create a booking as big as much as the duration of the requirement, or as long as you need it to be, using the multi-day views like the weekly view and monthly views. Also, along with the aggregations that are shown, you could always set them to collapse or set them to expand. We would remember the choice that you used the last time, and we would keep you in the same state so that you don't have to always go in and collapse, expand like you have to do on the existing experience. So those are some of the improvements that we made on weekly and monthly view, especially if you have work orders which last beyond days and go into weeks and months. You could now get unblocked with the new schedule board, start using them on the new schedule board. You can also see that we brought back the resource cards. You would still be able to use the resource cards and the actions related to the users. You can send an IM, email, or a phone call. The skills that are assigned to the resources are shown shown up here, and based on the ratings that are shown up here as well. The roles are also basically whatever is assigned to the resource can be added up, and you would see all the list of all of them. You can click on the resource; it opens up the resource record in that time. So those are some of the things that we brought back and with better experience on the new schedule board. Now let's take a quick look at the some of the other improvements that we made. Many a times when you log into the schedule board, you are actually put to the beginning of the day, and you had often have to look for where I am currently in, with respect to the time of the day. Now, what we did with what we did is a minor improvement where every time you try to log into the schedule board, you will be centered in an area uh, uh, where you're at the current time. So if you reload the schedule board, you will be put with respect to the current time of the day. So right now it's 9:40 a.m. So you're going to be shown where the blue line of the day is, which it indicates, and you don't have to scroll to the all the way to the right and find where the current time of the day is. Along with that, many a times we observe that the when used with different sizes and resolutions of the screen, you often lose the date information. But now we made it sticky so that you always know which day of the week you are on the schedule board, so that you don't have to look scroll left or right to find where you are. We also brought up a couple of other improvements where now you could use move to functionality, where you could reassign it to any resource in this organization. For example, let's say if you have a move to functionality, you could move it to another resource who doesn't have any bookings. For example, let's say take this one. Ryan Brim is the current worker who's working on this, supposed to work on this job. But if you have to move this to a different resource, you would have to look, and you'd only be shown the resources that are on this current tab. If you have to change it to all the resources in the organization who are filtered out of this schedule board tab, you can select all the resources, and then now you'll see a different list, which is all the resources in the organization itself. This is specifically for dispatchers who work in their own schedule board tabs and did not want to reassign a job to someone who's outside of the schedule board by mistake. So that's why the default would be the resources on the tab. You could check another resource, maybe Samuel, and I could choose Samuel, and then you could use the same date or a different date or the same time or a different start time. So I could, let's say 12 noon and or maybe different date, but for the sake of the demo, I'll just keep it the same date, and I click on update. Now we have a better UI to show that this booking has been moved from certain date to certain date. But if you think you don't want to see this notification, you can click on don't show notification, and then that notification would not be shown in the future. So now you see that Samuel's booking is moved over to 12 noon, especially his travel time is pre-calculated in such a way that he makes up to the job and be at the customer location at the right time. Now those are some of the improvements that we pushed in this schedule board in all the views, hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly views, and trying to improve this usability experience over these different views. Now, along with this, you probably might have noticed already that there are a few other new style of boxes appearing up here. Other than requirement or work order, you're also starting to see appointment. Now, as Dave explained, appointment scheduling is something that we are enabling in the URS so that the dispatchers don't have to look for their frontline workers availability at two different places like Exchange or appointment records or service records and schedule board all together to schedule them. So as long as your frontline workers have the appointments created in the Microsoft Dataverse, you could enable that feature, and those appointments would start showing up on the schedule board, like you can see here. Here are the appointments that are in scheduled state and are being shown here visually along with other bookings. You have a visual differentiation on the colors as well as the type of the meeting for the frontline worker. So you can see there's an appointment and the status reason is completed, and hence you see the different color for this. Now, this experience comes in very handy when your dispatchers try to schedule for your technicians. If I'm a dispatcher and I'm supposed to schedule this to Brady, now I know my appointment is right here. I cannot take that time slot. Previously, when appointments were not brought up in this way, they would have to look up at different tools, or they enabled the previously existing appointment scheduling feature where once the feature is enabled, every appointment record creates a booking record, which had its own share of issues. So with this new feature, you don't have to rely on that bookings to be created for each appointment to be shown on the schedule board. Rather, appointments directly integrate into your schedule board, and you can see the resource availability right there. And With this, I'll take a couple of seconds on to show how the appointment scheduling can be enabled. You could go into administration, scheduling parameters, and you would be able to enable the appointments right here. You could start including appointments into your schedule board. Once you enable this, you would see an experience where it throws a dialog box where it explains what the feature is. We would have more documentation on how to use it. However, once you enable it at an org level, this feature will get enabled at all the resource level. At all the resources will be enabled to show the appointments in their scheduling. Like you come here and you go to your scheduling tab, you'd be able to see the include appointments is turned to yes. So in case you have some resources who needs to be turned off for not including appointments, you could still do that by switching this to no and making changes to that specific record. So this gives you a lot of flexibility for your organizations to adopt it across the organization, make it faster and easier to adopt if you have to use it across the whole organization. But in case you have to do some exemptions and not enable it on certain resources, you could always go at a resource level and disable that option for those resources. You can also do the bulk edit and turn it off for your resources on the appointments. Now you could quickly take a look at how an appointment record is created. Nothing new here. You could just go ahead and create your own appointment record. So let's try it with one of the resources up here. I'm going to pick someone from my schedule board. Let me take a look. Go back to my schedule board. And you can see when I reloaded my schedule board, it would put me onto the same place where the current time is shown in context. I'm not put at the start of the day, which I was talking about. Now you can see that you have certain appointments here, and let's say Simon Rayleigh is our resource. You could say Simon Rayleigh is the required resource, and I'm going to save that. And you add your optional fields. I'm just going to go with the mandatory fields and fill in customer demo meeting, and then everything else. You could add a location regarding everything out of the box appointment, and then you just make save this. And this is created 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. for 30 minutes. And if you switch back to the schedule board and wait for the refresh to happen, or you manually refresh it, you would see that the appointment has appeared on the schedule board. Pretty much that simple. Now you have one place to look at everything. So appointments is available with the April release, and it's as I shown, you could enable it at an org level or make a pick and choose between who and which resources need to have this feature enabled for. So with that, I would also want to show one last feature quickly, which is going to be the resource working hours. I've seen a tremendous amount of feedback on this and a lot of people trying to achieve this functionality. So I'm going to take a quick minute on this. So you see that your resources are working over a period of time. They have different working styles. A lot of people, a lot of your employees would have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. as working hours, which can be set with the current tool. However, if you need the resource to be working from different days of a week, they have different time working hours. So what you could do is you could set up your working hours pretty much like the way you do today. Instead of using the never day these patterns, you could use the custom pattern. What custom pattern does is it lets you choose different times and different capacities or efficient or capacities for these resources. So on Monday, I have a different time pattern. On Tuesday, I have a different time pattern. On Wednesday, I have a different time frame. I don't work on Thursdays. On Friday, I can still keep it recurring over a period of time, which was difficult to achieve in the previous version of the control. So now you'd be able to do that. You would also be able to use the capacity fields, and you could either add a break or add a split to your split capacities for your resource, and you'd be able to see a time resource work hours like this, which would be really helpful for a lot of organizations where they don't have a same work hour pattern across the week. Another set of improvements that we push for the schedule board is for the users who have RSO installed on their organizations. We have the feature of suggest resources, preview resources, book resources to directly book or suggest resources, which we released in October. We kind of released a minor update where now you could choose your scheduling goals right from the schedule board itself. You could choose which type of goal that you would want to use and make it the default for your specific tab that you're working on. So every time you click suggest resources and book resources, that uses the scheduling goals from your tab rather than an organizational level setting for the scheduling goals. With that, I'm going to hand it over back to Dave. Dave, feel free to grab the screen.
Excellent. Thanks, Vinay. So yeah, Jason spoke about work orders and creating them and creating the scope of work. Vinay talked about scheduling them. And the next step of the process is technician success, which is the idea that after a technician has been scheduled a job, how do you enable them to be as successful as possible when they're on site completing the work order? And the main measurement that is performed here is first time fix rate. So let's take a look at some of the new features in this area. So we're constantly coming out with new features, and we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the new capabilities, that they can adopt them, that they can add them to their organization. And I just want to call out, 3 quick resources we have. The first one is we came out with a best practices and adoption playbook, which is a slide deck for people to use with their customers to basically outline what are the best practices to use the mobile app, how do you plan for a migration, how do you set it up, how do you do user acceptance training and things like that. And then other than that, we're investing a lot in both docs and videos to give you step-by-step guidance on how to set up and configure every capability. So when we send the presentation out, please take a look at some of these links. So one area that we're constantly investing in is usability. And when you think about the mobile app, it is the frontline workers' computer. It is what they use to view and record their work. But unlike using a PC laptop, you're using a phone or a tablet, and you're using a much smaller screen. So one of the challenges and one of the opportunities we have is to make the experience of viewing and inputting data easier. And one way that we can achieve this is by using new form factors and new controls to improve the usability. And I think one example of an area where we did this very well was we redesigned the service tasks, products, and services function on the work order form. So basically the idea is you just need to tap it to, let's say, complete a task, or you just need to tap a product in order to mark that you used it. And then we made it extra easy to adjust, let's say, how long the service was or how long the product was. And when we work with customers, what they say is we want the field technicians to be focused on doing the actual work. We don't want them to be spending so much time on their phone recording work, because they're not there on site to record their work. They're there on site to perform the work, right? So by enabling these new interfaces and these new tap gestures, you improve the usability and improve and minimize the amount of time that they actually have to spend in the application. And this is something I'll show in the demo. Similarly, we enabled address recommendations. So imagine if you needed to update the address on a work order or an account, rather than having to type in the entire address, you could just type in maybe let's say the street address, and the system will recommend using Bing Maps, it'll recommend the full address, which will save you a lot of time having to enter that information. And this is something that's available on the mobile app. It's also available on the web experience as well. As Jason mentioned earlier, knowledge articles, this is something that is supported on the mobile app, and we want to continue to make sure that it's a good experience to view information and view procedures and protocols and step-by-step information. Another exciting feature is the ability to generate service reports. One of the feedback that we were getting is that after a technician completes a work order on site, oftentimes the customer will want a report of what was done. And typically they want this done as a PDF to be able to send to them. So what they did was they leveraged a new PCF control that will allow you to, when a work order is completed, you can take the details of that work order and have it generate a PDF report, and then it'll attach that report into the timeline of the work order, and then you have the option to send it to a customer. And one added feature of this is the signature on the work order, perhaps it's a customer signature, can be embedded right into the report as well. So if you read the documentation, we will ship a template that you can use that you can go ahead and customize for your own experiences. Another important feature is what we're calling quick notes. And this is the idea that you can quickly, and actually, why don't I go ahead and show this video here? This is the idea that you can quickly add notes to a work order, whether it is an audio file, whether it's a video, perhaps it's a picture. And rather than having to, let's say, take the image and attach it to the work order, you're basically just quickly adding it to the interface of the work order, and then it's always being displayed that you can quickly scroll through and tap whenever you need. And you can imagine that a lot of these field service organizations, they're coming from a scenario where they may have used to use pen and paper. So they're very used to this idea of taking notes. So we want to create a digital equivalent of that, but have it be easier and quicker. Two features that will be released soon but aren't available today are Power Virtual Agents on the mobile app and booking maps. Power Virtual Agent is an important feature, and the idea is that you can have the technician interact with a chatbot that will perform functions for them, whether it's like update the status of a work order or help me find an expert, meaning you can ask who was the last person to work on this work order, and the chatbot will surface that information to you, and then you have the option to go ahead and call them, whether it's a phone call or a mixed reality call. And then the other thing that we're investing in is booking maps. And this is the idea that you have a schedule today, this week, this month. You can go ahead and view that schedule on a map. And in the beginning of the day when you're starting your day, it'll help you plan your route and see the order of your work as you go across town. The other thing that we're investing in is a Teams integration. So a lot of the times to complete a work order, it's not a one-man job. You need many people working on it. So what we're doing is, along with customer service and sales, we're bringing the Teams interface and the Teams chat interface and a collaboration panel into the work order. To start, this will only be available in the web experience, but eventually we're hoping to expand it onto the mobile app. All right, let's take a look at the demo. So before we actually show the mobile app, let me first start off by saying that investments in some areas of field service will affect other areas. Like investments in the mobile app will improve investments in scheduling and vice versa. And one area that we've made investments in on the mobile app is GPS tracking and location auditing. So you can see here on the map that my real-time location and my icon is shown on the app because I've logged in and I've interacted with the map and it has tracked my GPS location. And as I move around San Francisco, you'll see my map pin move along with it. And this is useful for many areas, one example being real-time scheduling and real location scheduling. And that's the idea that you can schedule a work order to the person who's actually the closest based on their mobile app or the location of their mobile device rather than their expected or planned location, which creates more scheduling efficiencies. So one thing that's worth mentioning. But next, let's log into the mobile app. So here I am on the mobile app, and in this case, I'm using an iPhone 10. And first thing I'm going to do is launch the field service mobile application up here, which is the orange app. By default, this takes me to the bookings calendar view, which is a calendar view of all my scheduled jobs that are upcoming. And this is modeled after the Outlook mobile experience, which is a really great experience to see all of your appointments and your work orders in a calendar format. If I click the hamburger icon to the top, I can see the sitemap. And by default, there's a lot of information included in the field service mobile app that you, if you want to, you can add to or take away from. But by default, on the top, you have, in the My Work section, you have things like your bookings and your work orders. In the customer section, you have things like accounts and contacts. In the asset section, you have IoT data, assets, functional locations, and warehouses. And then down at the bottom, you have the ability to request time off or submit time entries related to either work or vacation or other areas. If you choose the globe icon in the bottom left, this is where you can download information. You can download your data. So I can go ahead and it says offline is ready, but if there are new updates, it can go ahead and sync those latest updates. And you can see that down below in the past, it synced 77 tables or entities and 1 file. And after all the online data is downloaded, we are ready to use the application. Now, if I head back to my bookings, I can go ahead and I can begin my work. Now, when you're scheduled a job, you can enable push notifications. And if I just swipe down here, it says I've been scheduled work order 93, and I can tap it to open. This is why it's valuable that the mobile app is built on the Power Platform, because you can utilize things like the Power push notifications that are available for Power apps and other apps like this. So if I go ahead and tap on that, it's going to bring me to the work order that was scheduled to me. So the booking tab just shows basic information. I see the current status is scheduled, and I can go ahead and change that to traveling as I begin to travel there. And I can see things like what are my expected start time and how an estimated duration of the work, which is in this case 2.5 hours. If I head over to the customer tab, I can see who the customer is for this work order. In this case, it's Wingtip Toys Northwest. And I can also see the address of that customer, which here is in downtown Seattle. Now, more than just the address, I can actually see the functional location here, which is the exact place within the address that this work will take place. If I scroll down, I can see it on the map, and I can choose the Get Directions button in order to launch the GPS app on my phone. If I click into the service account, I can go over to the assets and locations, and I can see a functional location build out of this customer. So at this customer's location, there are 2 buildings, Building A and Building B. Building A has 2 floors and a roof. And if I check the show assets, I can actually see that on Building A roof, there's an HVAC unit, which is what I'll be responsible for servicing. Now, if I head back to the work order, I can head to the service tab, and this will guide us through the work that needs to be done. So at first we can see the service tasks, and I can simply just tap to complete these. So first I need to read diagnostic codes. Next I need to diagnose the issue. After that I need to perform a repair. And then lastly I may need to do an HVAC unit inspection. So for this one I'll actually click into the service task. And you can see here that there is a digital inspection form that guides me through the work that needs to be done. So you can see things like my name, the date of service. It'll guide me through the repair, like I need to turn off water, flush the drain, clean, replace the filter. I need to understand, report on the condenser coil, which in this case I'll say needs attention. I need to report on the refrigerant level. I can choose files, take pictures, and of course I can just add good old-fashioned text notes. When I'm done with this, I can simply hit save. Next, I may need to record what labor or service I have completed as part of this. So I can go ahead and say that 2 hours of labor has been performed, and I can go ahead and edit this as needed with just a few simple taps. And the same is true for products, but if need to, I can go in, I can specify where the inventory is coming from, mark it as used, and I can go ahead and save. As we talked about earlier, you can also see knowledge articles on the mobile application. So if I tap and see this, I can see any help and guides I need to complete this job. This can include pictures and videos and any information that is needed. Next, if I head to the notes section, this is the new feature called Quick Notes. And you can see there are 4 buttons on the bottom that can allow me to easily enter a note. As an example, I could add a text. Everything looks okay. I can go ahead and save that. If I need to, I can snap a photo or a video. Other options are I can do an audio recording or attach a file. Then I can simply add a caption to that image or just say done. If I need help on the job, I can tap this More button and I can trigger a remote assist call. So by doing that, it'll open my remote assist app, which in this case is already installed in my device, and it's going to queue up the reported expert for this account or for this work order. There is a support contact field in the work order that is populating this, and I can go ahead and launch a call. This will call William, who may be at a different location, maybe in a back office somewhere, and he can give me guidance via a mixed reality remote assist call. Back on the app, if everything looks good, I can go ahead and say that this work order is completed. In this case, it took 21 minutes, which is automatically updated, and I'll go ahead and hit save. If I have internet access, this will automatically show up for my dispatchers in the back office. And at any time I can hit refresh here and it'll pull down the latest schedule from the server. The last area that we want to focus on is end customer engagement. And this is the idea of how do your field technicians interact with their customers as they complete work. 2 things that we've done here is first, technician locator tracking. This is basically like the Uber of field service. And it's basically showing a real-time, the technician's real-time location on a map, which will show them as they approach the customer's location, which will help them plan their arrival better. The other thing that's very important is we're enabling self-scheduling so that a customer can log into a portal and then request a time of service for their work order to be scheduled. And for this, I want to ask Jonathan Baker, who can give us a quick demo of this.
All right, so Tech Locator. So as David mentioned, it's based on, there's a lot of messages that come with it. So it kind of goes through the part of your the booking lifecycle where work orders are scheduled until the completion. And so the first message that would come through Tech Locator would be a reminder message. So the C1, our customers have some settings to say, hey, I want to send a reminder to my customers that their service is coming up within X dates, in a maximum of 7 days, or you could have it the day before service. It'd be a reminder message. The messages can come in email or SMS. Currently, our customers would need to bring their own SMS and email accounts. So by default, we just have a Twilio connector in Power Automate. They could swap that out with whatever SMS provider they would like, and then Exchange connector with email and Power Automate. And so, basically we send the messages to the primary contacts of the account, and so as long as they're following a typical account structure, they have an account, they have a contact, we would send the messages to that contact that's associated with the booking. For GA, we'll expand that a little bit and allow you to select different contacts within that are associated with that booking. So I think the reported by contact, you could select that globally within CRM. So let's show a couple messages and the primary experience is traveling. Actually, let's go to my alter ego here, technician ego, John Powers, and we can book an appointment for him using the fancy new schedule board. And in just a moment, I will get a message, and let me share my phone screen as well. It is built on Power Portals. And so, it's an adaptable user interface. So we support mobile, we support browser, accessible through a web URL. So very simple and easy to use. In just a second, I should receive this message. And I just got that, so I will open that. So the message is saying, hey, your booking is coming up with Contoso Cable. Since I scheduled this within that 7-day time range, it would show me this reminder message. Clicking through, it's giving some basic information about your booking, your appointment that's coming up. Hey, your booking's confirmed. This is your booking number if you need to reference it. The date and time, the location that the booking is scheduled for, and then some contact information that's configurable by our customers to give extra support for their customers. The branding of this page, the Contoso label, the font style is a foreground background color. That branding is all configurable by our customers. Okay, so that is a reminder state, and then say the day of the appointment, the field service technician would be typically using their field service mobile application. They would be wrapping up their previous appointment and about ready to go to a new appointment, so they would set their booking status as traveling. And then in a moment, I should get another message. All right. In this message, I'm saying, hey, your technician's John Powers. So we actually present the technician's name to build confidence, and some customers especially would like to make sure that their customers understand who's coming and ready to greet them. And then we also give their calculated time of arrival, and this time of arrival is based on their current location based on the signal from the mobile application, and then the route we are expecting them to take to the customer's address. And that arrival time is calculated through Bing APIs or Azure Maps APIs, calculating traffic, real-time traffic, and things like that. So when they click that message, then they're presented on the portal, and the portal itself will show, again, their arrival time, their technician's name. We allow them to present the technician's image. That's a configurable option. So if they have an image available and they want to show that, again, it builds confidence in who's coming to your apartment or your house or your place of business is the real person that's supposed to be there. It's not some imposter that's coming to steal stuff or whatever. Again, just basic details about the appointment. In a second here, this guy should start moving, so he's traveling very soon. There is about a minute delay between when the technician travels and when the map itself updates. That is by design. It provides a little more privacy for the technician, so you don't know where they are exactly when they're traveling. It also is just to make sure that we have a smooth animation on the map when they're traveling, so that because we know where they've been in the past, so we can actually animate that really nicely.
Looks like the intern that we sent in his car to go drive is
not driving yet. He should start driving pretty soon. I should give him a call. Well, if that doesn't show, that's okay. I think the video David has represents that pretty well. John Powers is slacking today, I guess. Anyway, oh, there he goes. Finally took off. So he's heading to his next appointment. This is the normal Azure Maps animation that the end customer would see. And so as they progress, the little progress bar here at the top would fill up. When they arrived, it would say, hey, your technician's arrived. The bar would turn green. A couple enhancements we'll make for between preview. Currently, this is in preview. So as long as you have an environment in NAM, you can go to the Power Apps portals admin site. You can provision a portal, and you would have this whole experience available to you to play with. For GA, a couple of enhancements I'll call out is with John Powers, your technician, we will actually allow the customer to configure a phone call, so you can call that technician while he's en route, just as a way to contact them. And then also we have a completion state. So after this booking is complete, we would send another email saying, hey, your booking this booking was completed at such and such date and time. And we would allow them to configure a survey directly in line within that portal. And so basically that the map that we would normally show on the reminder messages, it looks very similar to that, would show as a survey in that placement. And that survey that you take would tie back to that booking so you can see results based on that specific booking. Okay. If there's any questions on this tech locator feature, I will switch gears and show self-scheduling real quick. And for that one, let's see here. So self-scheduling is another pretty exciting feature that I believe has been a long time ask. As David mentioned, basically provision one portal and you have all your settings. The portal itself is going to be your customer's experience hub. And so we'll build, we're planning to build more experiences on top of these in the future, but for now it'll be tech locator and self-scheduling is just a quick preview of the settings that would come when you provision this this portal in field service. And you can see you can turn on tech locator, you can turn on self-scheduling. We have granular messages, message states that we send at different intervals within the booking lifecycle. In this case with self-scheduling, we also would send a booking confirmation message. So whenever a booking is set and locked, we would send a booking, hey, your booking is scheduled this time. We wouldn't send the technician's name yet, but just confirming that. And then the reminder we already show and the timing between the before when the reminder is sent. The technician is traveling. Eventually, we will also have a technician arrive state. So the technician gets within so many meters or feet from the location. We'd automatically just send a message saying, hey, your technician's getting close. Get ready to greet them. For the experience itself, the plan is right now we'll use the out-of-the-box Power Apps portals. They provide some authentication features, and so the C1 would set up their authentication. They'd be able to, in the C1 settings, they'd be able to broadcast the availability to self-schedule to their customers. And so their customers would receive an email saying something like, hey, you can now, we're still working on this, so I can't show this quite yet, but hey, we now offer the ability to self-schedule your appointments. Please redeem your code here. The users would click through that email. They would have their redeem code all set up. They click register. They'd be able to register for their portal account so that they could self-schedule in the future. In this case, I've already redeemed that code. This customer, Contoso, had Azure AD set up. So all I really need to do since I'm already signed in is to click on Azure AD. And this is the self-scheduling experience. Again, it's pre-preview, so we're still working on some details and some design aspects of this, but for the most part, we can walk through what this is doing. So our customers have the ability to define if they would like their customers to be able to select their service product, and this is basically their assets. By default, the service location would be the location of the account, but if they select an asset, say GMS modem, and that has a functional location associated with it, then we know that the booking is for a specific place based on that asset. Our customers could say, hey, we don't want to select that asset, then this area would just be hidden, and all they'd be doing is selecting their service type. In this scenario, though, we have asset selected, and so we know what we're working on, we know where it is. We need to know what we're doing with that. So we're working on a GMS modem. These are actually incident types in the back end, but we're gonna allow the customers to apply a friendly name to these incident types. So basically, and decide which incident types to make available. So we'll do a cable repair. This cable repair is going to be pretty lengthy. It's 360 minutes, so we know the duration, the location, what they're doing, and then we can show on the map, we can show what dates and times are available. So for this service, hey, there's one time on the 18th. I'm going to select that time. Looks good. I'm going to add some additional information. Big dog, beware. And then click book. And as simple as that, we'll have a quick loading sequence. We're in the back end. We're actually creating that booking. We are assigning a resource based on the resource requirements and other things in the URS APIs and the scheduling APIs. And soon we will be able to confirm this booking. Again, some little design details working through here, but basically at this point that booking is confirmed. We know what it is, we know how long it's going to take, where we're going, and a quick contact us. From there, I would also receive an email, which I don't think is hooked up quite yet, but an email that would be saying, also confirming this booking would be available. And from that email, you could actually come back and reschedule that the service you had just scheduled if you needed to reschedule it. Similarly, if you have this in Tech Locator enabled, you'd continue to get the reminder emails. And if you need to reschedule this service, when you get that reminder email, 7 days away, you could also come back into this portal and reschedule. A few other details we're working through, which I can't show yet. We're looking at a home page where possibly we would list a few other service details, or even appointments that weren't originally scheduled here, some service history and things like that. So a bunch of exciting things coming, but I think hopefully this gave you a taste of what we'll be launching in preview next month. And that'll do it. Thanks, Dave.
Perfect. Before I let everyone go, I just want to mention that there are a few places where you should go to learn the latest and greatest on field service. We have great doc site. We have a YouTube video playlist. We have a Learn site. And for those of you who are a part of Microsoft, we have a podcast on stream. Thanks a lot for everyone. And I guess I'll hand it off to Erin to close.
Excellent. Thank you. I've posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We'd like to get your feedback on today's session and hear what you'd like to see in future events. We thank everyone for their participation today. As a reminder, attendees may access the recording via a link that will be delivered by email within 48 hours of this event. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and the audience for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you may be.